A good friend, Sean Spicer, senior advisor and spokesman for America First Action and former White House press secretary, of course, and you know him well. Listen to this letter that the former secretaries of Homeland Security have written today, a bipartisan letter, an excerpt saying DHS employees who protect the traveling public, investigate and counterterrorism, and protect critical infrastructure should not have to rely on the charitable generosity of others for assistance in feeding their families. And then you had this today from the Commerce Secretary, Wilbur Ross, when he was asked questions about what he thinks.
The idea that it's paycheck or zero is not a really valid idea. There's no reason why some institution wouldn't be willing to lend. There have been ads run by a number of the public sector credit unions. Those have announced very, very low interest rate loans to bridge people over the gap.
Sean, do you think that Wilbur Ross represents the White House's point of view on that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know. But let's be clear. This shutdown is very real for thousands and thousands of families and workers who are trying to figure out how to, pay for food, keep the bills, make their mortgage payment. And it's not just the federal employees. It's the people who depend on them. I was in downtown Washington, D.C. the last couple days, and there are so many restaurants that rely on lunchtime traffic and evening traffic for patrons of the federal government that eat lunch there or get a cup of coffee, that this trickle-down effect that it's having not just on the federal workers, but so many other people who are part of that economy that depends on them going to work and buying lunch or getting in a cab, it's having a real effect not just here in Washington, D.C. area, but throughout the country. I mean, people, when you talk to them, it's heart-wrenching to hear some of these stories about the difficult choices that they're having to make.
So the president has decided he will postpone the State of the Union, so that is off the table for now. But now we have Vice President Pence on Capitol Hill, seeing if we can get some movement legislatively. From the White House's perspective, from a strategic communications messaging standpoint, is there something that the president could do that could help change public opinion and helpfully for him, not lose any more public opinion? Because a Fox News poll last night showed, in line with other polls, his approval number better than in other polls, but still down from the month before about 3 points.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think, look, the buck always stops with the President of the United States. He made a good faith effort last Saturday, but I think at the end of the day, the American people are always going to look to the President more than anyone else to solve the problems. And so I think they're making good faith. They've made a good faith effort. They may have to continue to reach a little bit further. But as this pain continues to get spread due to the shutdown, the president's got to figure a way out. The problem is that I don't see Nancy Pelosi, and I'm not just saying this as a partisan. I think if you look just strategically, the president made an offer, they rejected it out of hand. You need to see some flexibility from the Democrats, some willingness to say what they're willing to put on the table. Because right now their position is, we won't even negotiate until you open up the government. Right. And that seems rather untenable. In
fact, I think that we actually might finally see something like that after these votes today. And apparently tonight they might come forward with this idea that they will provide significant billions of dollars, but not just for a wall, but for some sort of border security. We'll see how that will go. While I have you, I want to ask you, I'm not a huge fan of books being written, tell-alls about books during an administration. Cliff Sims, a former staffer of the White House, has written a book called Team of Vipers, and he said that Kellyanne Conway that she told Vanity Fair that the real leakers, past and present, get much more positive press than I do. While it's rare, I prefer to knife people from the front so they see it coming. Now, this was in response to an excerpt from the book in which Cliff Sims claims that she was actually leaking information to the press, which he witnessed. Your thoughts on any of that? Apparently, Kellyanne Conway mentions you in this excerpt that Cliff Sims wrote. I don't know Cliff Sims. I don't know how well you know him. Would love your thoughts on this book.
I do like certain books, mine in particular, your book, so there are some really good ones out there. I'm frankly just disappointed that somebody used their time in the White House to trash other people around the president.
Yeah, that's what I meant in terms of not liking tell-all books while a president is actually sitting president. If you're
I think it's
trash your colleagues.
Just when I thought that we had enough with Omarosa's book, here we go again.
Right.
This to me, I mean, it's the height of disloyalty to take a position of honor and privilege in any administration at that level, and then to turn around and sell that kind of access and information and undermine what's going on. This is a real sign of disrespect and disloyalty from this former staffer to not just Kellyanne, but I think to the entire Trump administration and the president himself. And so it's disappointing and sad that that's what this has come to.
And perhaps a distraction, but maybe not much of one. Obviously, all eyes focused on getting these workers back to work. All right, Sean Spicer, thank you.
That's right. And that's you bet, Dana. Thank you.
Bye-bye. The Senate.